Hey everyone, we're going to talk about how to set up the Anki flashcards so that we can use an AI agent to automatically generate flashcards for us so that we don't have to spend time copying and pasting the front of the card and the back of the card and doing all that when we could just be spending that time studying and learning the information and just going through the flashcards. So in this example, I'm going to go ahead and try to start everything from the minimum amount of setup as possible so that you can replicate what I have. Okay, so all I have right now is I have a folder called demo. It's an empty folder that I created. And then you're going to want to download Kiro. It's going to be at https://kiro.dev. So that's where I'm at right now. If you just type in kiro.dev, you'll get there. Download for Mac in this case, because I have a Mac. Download for your machine. Figure out which chip your Mac uses. I can figure that out right here. Click about this Mac. I got the Apple chip, so that means I got Apple Silicon, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and download it for Apple Silicon. Once I download it, then I open it up and I should be able to type in Kiro and I will see this thing pop up. And yours might not automatically open up to the demo folder because it might be your first time using Kiro. And so yeah, it'll just tell it which folder to open up. It's just an empty folder, and let's take a look at what we have. So you're gonna have all these. If you click on this ghost icon, the first ghost icon, this is the Kiro panel, and you'll see all these different things. I would toggle in this, and then make sure that the MCP servers toggle is expanded. And we're gonna talk about how to set this up with Anki. Now Anki, in order to use Anki, this is the website. apps.ankiweb.net. This is a Anki flashcard app. This is a flashcards app. That's all it was. And you can use it out of the box without having to worry about, setting up MCP server or Agentic AI or anything like that. But the problem is when you use this, after you install Anki, which you can do download Anki and you'll see this, you'd have to manually create the deck and then figure out what goes on the front of the card and the back of the card and create your cards manually. That'll take a lot of time when you could be spending that time studying. So we're gonna set this up so that we can automatically generate flashcards instead of doing it manually. Of course, I could do it manually and show you that, but I'm sure you could figure out how to do it manually. But to use Agentic AI, we're gonna need something called an MCP server. So the next URL that we're going to take a look at is going to be, well, we already took a look at this, the Anki MCP setup. So this GitHub repository, I played around with it several, and all I did was Google search Anki MCP servers, and I found this one. Like, for example, if I search Anki MCP, there's a bunch, and I've taken a look at a bunch of them, and I have concluded, for my personal use case, that really from the ankiweb.net, which is where we got our Anki app from, that's the one that I actually trust. So yeah, let's take a look. You can click on the GitHub URL and then click on Anki MCP right here. It'll actually show you a GitHub page with lots of things that we don't need to look at, but just click on Anki MCP server, and this is the URL that I'm going to be sharing with you all. So that's kind of how I found it. I just played around with a couple, trial and error. So now we have this GitHub page that tells us what this Anki MCP server allows us to do. It allows us to use something like Claude or Kiro, which are called MCP clients. MCP client is just a tool that utilizes MCP servers to with AI, Agentic AI, to work with other apps, for example, to connect with other apps. So that's all it is. So it can do all these things. Like it can list the decks that I have in my Anki app. It can add notes to my Anki app, find notes. It can create deck, add flashcards, all that good stuff. Cool. So in order to set this up, it says supported clients, mentions all these clients, but also other MCP clients that support stdio transport, which Kiro is in that category. So I will copy this. Now be careful when you copy this. I mean, you can copy it all if you want, but if you have other MCP servers already, just in case, I'll just show you what you need to copy. So the Anki MCP, we're gonna need to copy it from this this line right here where it says Anki MCP, and to the second curly brace, because this curly brace closes this one, and this curly brace closes this one. It's kind of like in math class when you have to match the opening and closing parentheses. In this case, curly braces. So I'll just copy from here to here. So be very careful, otherwise it does not work if you don't copy this correctly. You got to copy exactly like I do. And then we're going to go to our Kiro, which is right here. And when you click on the ghost icon, you'll see this MCP servers panel, and you can click on this edit or open MCP config button, and it'll take you to this page, mcp.json. And this is where inside of these curly braces for MCP servers, so yours might be empty if it's your first time, just like mine is. It'll just come with what I have here. We want to paste this in. And then I'll press save. And yours might say connected or yours might not say connected, depending on many factors. But just in case it says failed, don't worry. We haven't finished setting it up yet. And I can show you that mine is not really connected, because I could say use Anki MCP to create about cats. I don't know. I'm just using a test example here. Yeah, see, it fails when it tries to run these MCP tools, like list the decks. It's not connected with my Anki app, right? So I need to do some setup on my Anki app so that my Anki app is going to be able to connect with that MCP server, okay? So that's something we're going to need to do. But we finished our first step is to just configure the MCP server in Kiro. But now we need to configure Anki to allow for a connection from MCP clients such as Kiro. So that's going to be, if I scroll up here, prerequisites, right? Anki with Anki Connect plugin installed. So that's one of the prerequisites to use it. And you're also going to need Node.js. So you need to install Node.js 20 or more new version of Node.js. By the way, you can actually ask Kiro to install it for you. By the way, just watch all these other tool calls fail. Yeah, see? It's just going to fail because it's not connected yet. Anyways, it's actually going to tell me what to do. That's pretty cool. Install Anki Connect. Go to, oh wow, look, that's pretty cool. I didn't even have to go to the browser, really. I could just ask Kiro. Awesome. When in doubt, ask Kiro. So it says open Anki on your computer. Okay, cool. Go to tools, add-ons, get add-ons. Okay, I'll just go to Anki on my computer, which is this icon right here. Then tools, add-ons, and then get add-ons. And for this code, yeah, well, I could find it here on Kiro. It tells me what code to type in, but let me just confirm officially here as well that it's this tool. So you got to click Anki Connect, that plugin. Okay, this repository has moved to here. Awesome. Input this. Okay, 2055492159. Yeah, cool. Kiro told me the right thing. 2055492159. Okay, awesome. You go here, and then I just copy and paste this code and press OK. Download complete. All right, we got to restart Anki to apply those changes. All right, cool. I'm just going to go ahead and quit Anki and then open up Anki again. So now that I have restarted it, let's just verify our tools are still there. Add-ons. Awesome. We got Anki Connect there. Perfect. And then, cool. So Anki must be kept running in the background in order for other applications to be able to connect to Anki using Anki Connect. And Anki uses this port on, Anki Connect uses this port on your browser. So you can actually, or this port on your machine, and you can even see it from the browser. But anyways, let's go ahead and now see if it works now. Anki. Where's Anki? I mean, not Anki. Where's Kiro? Kiro, where you at? Okay. Cool. Now I'm in Kiro. I'll say, okay. See if you're connected now. And let's see what happens. Cool. Now it's successfully, you see it turned green. List decks, and I don't have any flashcard decks. Connected, yeah. It's connected, and I don't have any decks yet. So now I can start generating flashcards. So what do I want to generate flashcards on? Well, whatever I want to study. So let's go ahead and figure out what I want to study. Well, and great thing here is you can, in this case, for example, I have something called Notion where I put all my study notes for a certificate exam I was studying for, like Solutions Architect Associate. And then let's just say I have, all these notes on all these different things about AWS and all that. Let's just take a look at Simple Storage Service, which is a cloud service. I can just copy all this. And best practice, by the way, is you're going to want to, you don't want to put like your whole textbook in one file, but maybe put a chapter that you want to study. You're going to want to break it down because large language models work better when they're less overwhelmed with lots of data, right? Because there's something called context window. Context window is, just think about it like how much of the large language model's overall memory is full, and the more it has to know and keep track of, like more data that you're giving it, eventually the less effective it becomes. So let's take a look here at this panel. I'm going to click on the file icon, open a file, and I'll just call this S3 notes.md. I'm going to put in a markdown file. Large language models love markdown files. I'm just going to paste it, even though this is not markdown syntax. I'm literally just copying and pasting text here. And I'll say, convert the notes from, and I can tell it which file by typing in hashtag and then the name of the file, S3 notes, and then you'll see it somewhere here. Or you can even just tell it from the S3, whatever your file name is, tell the file name here. Into flashcards, I want you to generate 15 cards from these notes. And I send this prompt. Okay, deck name, AWS S3 Security. Okay, so I'll create an AWS S3 Security deck. Okay, cool. Click accept. So I created a flashcard deck called AWS S3 Security. And notice it's using different tools, right? Now, from that same MCP server, now it's calling a different tool called add note. And this tool is basically adding flashcards. So add note just means add card. So fields, right? Front is going to have this, back is going to have this. It's even going to give the flashcard some tags so that you can study based on certain topics in your flashcard deck, like security, for example. Cool. I'll click run. You can press trust. If you press trust, it won't ask you for permission every time it needs to run this tool. For example, if I just click run, then when it's trying to generate the second flashcard, it's going to ask me for permission again. So that's why I'm just going to click trust so that it will just do that. Trust. Ideally, it should just work without asking me to trust it every single time. But it's probably just because it's our first time trusting it. So you'd have to probably restart Kiro, like close it and reopen it in order for it to stop bugging you about trusting it. Matter of fact, let me just show you that in action. Quit. Kiro. Okay, cool. As you can see in your mcp.json, it auto-approves certain tools in your Anki MCP, and it just kind of duplicated these add notes. Ideally, you're going to want to restart Kiro after you set up the MCP server before you ask for a flashcard. So let me just go back here. Let me press the up icon, up arrow, and it'll go to my recently typed prompt. I'll just press that again. Boom. Okay. Uh-oh. Hint, make sure Anki's running. Well, Anki is running. So we got some errors here. But I mean, we have some flashcards here from previous thing. New, study now. Okay, let's take a look. Browse. I mean, here's some flashcards that were generated already. It's interesting. Okay, so sometimes, it just ran into a little couple of hiccups here. Oh, because some of those cards already exist. Because you guys remember, I actually had some flashcards already being generated before I restarted Kiro, right? Anyways, notice how it's not asking me for permission each time it's calling the add note tool now. That's great, because now it's even more automated. I don't have to I don't even have to be here. I can go walk my dog, and then by the time I finish walking my dog, I come back, I got flashcards. Or actually, by the time I even find my dog, the flashcards are generated, okay? So that's how quick it is. Cool. So I got flashcards here, about 15 flashcards. Let's see. Let's see where the Anki app is. Dex, it says 15, but whatever. I just got 14 here, whatever. Okay, so we got, let me just take a look at this one. I think this one was from the previous attempt, and it named the deck AWS. But whatever. So that's because I restarted Kiro. Ideally, you would have restarted Kiro after you set up the MCP so that it doesn't duplicate it like that. But I can actually tell it here. Looks like I have Can you just make sure it's all in one called AWS S3? I can even talk to it about doing other things than generating cards, and it can use other tools to do things besides just listing deck or create card. It can actually take a look at all the stuff that I have, like find notes, delete notes, right? So I can prompt it and it'll do that for me. It'll know what tool to use because of the prompt, because underneath the hood, it's a large language model that's doing the reasoning behind my prompt to know what tool would probably be best to use. And it will know what tool to use because there's descriptions for each tool. So it's smart enough to figure out, okay, based on this description, I'll probably need to use this tool, delete notes, because it does this, right? Anyways, I'll click trust for list decks so it doesn't ask me for permission to use that tool again. Let me create an AWS S3 deck and find all the S3 related notes and consolidate them. Okay, cool. Cool, yeah, there we go. It's gonna do find notes. I'm just gonna trust that tool. Found 24 notes. Unfortunately, Anki's API does not have direct move notes to deck function. The deck stored at the card level. Okay, so I'm using some other tool to do it. Interesting. It just opened up the graphical user interface for me. I didn't even have to open that. It just automatically opened it for me. Cool. Just delete all decks and start over. This is my fault because I forgot to restart Kiro after I set up the MCP server. So fun fact, if you want to avoid some glitches, once you set up your MCP server, restart Kiro before you start prompting it so you don't have to do what I'm doing here. Anyways, cool. Delete all 24 nodes. Empty decks will remain. Anki, you can right click and delete them manually, but they're empty now. Ready to create fresh cards? Want me to create S3 deck? Okay, yeah, let's just start fresh with Anki here. Decks. Yeah, it deleted all the notes as you can see, but it looks like it doesn't have a tool to delete. I mean, it deleted cards, but it didn't have a tool to delete a whole deck. So, yeah, let me tell it. Ideally, I want to also tell it the name of the deck. Okay. But it's saying, is it cool if I use this name for the deck? Okay, so yeah, let's do it. Okay, so create deck. I haven't approved the create deck tool use, for it to just automatically use that tool without asking me. So I had to press trust. But add note was already here, so that's good. The add note tool is already trusted for auto approve. Awesome. Let's take a look here. Cool. So now I'm generating flashcards, and I don't even know where my dog is at. So definitely it's going to be done generating flashcards by the time I find my dog. Matter of fact, if I don't find my dog, I'm going to play the song, Who Let the Dogs Out? Who? And by the time that song finishes, also, these flashcards will already be generated. So really, it's pretty quick. Awesome. Now I got flashcards. Cool. 15 flashcards. Let's take a look. Study. What is the default access state of an S3 bucket? Well, default access state is, just from what I know, it's inaccessible unless you're a root user, because S3 by default, you literally just need permissions in order to do anything in AWS, right? So default is no access. How about that? Show answer. Yeah, private by default. Yeah, so cool. Good. That was pretty easy for me, so I'll click easy. And if I type easy, or not type, if I press easy, it'll ask me this question in a longer time duration, which you can configure the time duration for easy or, good, hard again. Now, if something is hard, like let's say I want it again, it'll just show me that card within the next less than minute, right? You can configure the times here in the Anki app. Hard or good, right? So I'll say, okay, that was easy. What are the 3 main ways to control S3 access permissions? And then you try to recall the answer, and then it'll show you the answer. Boom. Cool. So that is part of how to generate dynamic flashcards so that you can study for your certifications or your tests or exams and hit your New Year's goals and resolutions on point using flashcards to study.